Hello YouTube, I'm David with the David West channel. I was walking across these woods here and noticed this pine tree that had fallen over and those roots sticking up in the end. I'll bet you there's plenty of fatwood in them roots, but you can see a long time ago it fell down and fell across the road. This is the road just right over here, and so somebody cut it off. But it looks like it might have been dead for a while. And those roots popped up in the air. Let's go see if there's any fatwood in them. Yep. Pretty loaded. Smells strong too. Let's go see what we can do with this piece. All right. Let's cut off a bearing block out of this. And I want to try to save the sawdust because I'm going to ignite it with a ferro rod. So let me finish cutting that off. And we'll go about 1.5 inches for a bearing block. Losing some of my sawdust. Let me try to cut it. And when you're cutting fatwood, you know, a lot of times it'll stick to the saw. So it's trying to stick to these teeth. That looks like it'll be a good bearing block. I'll hold it like that. So let's just make a divot right here in the thickest part of that fatwood. Feels like some good fatwood I'm cutting out of there. I'll use these too when we do our ferro rod. Nice. Now I'll have to put a point back on this privet. Still using this dried privet set of mine. I'm not trying to get anything over on you. It's not completely moisture free like it would be if you sat it in the back glass of the Camry, or if you sat it on a heater vent. It stays in the floorboard of the Camry, so it's still got probably 5 or 6% moisture. Let's just go ahead and put that point on there now. But I've been using the metal bearing for so long that people are actually surprised that I can use a natural bearing block. I've got videos showing me using cut off plastic bottles. I popped a hole in the side of an off can one time and I used it for a bearing block. I've used black walnut holes, fatwood before. I've got about, I think I have like 8 videos that shows me using a natural bearing block. Now, try to get you turned. Look at that. Oh, I wonder if you can see that. How concentrated that fatwood is right there. This is going to make a great bearing block. But right now, let's go ahead and let's try to ignite all this sawdust where I just cut it. That should be another good ignition source. And these good rich pieces right here. Hope you can see that. Let me check what you can see. Yeah, you can see. I've just about got my Sparrow rod worn out. I'll post the link to the video where I made this, where I glued this paneling nail in the end of it. I call this a spear, and overall I call it a Sparrow rod. But look at how much I've got it worn down. I was going to use the spine of my Mora, but I mean, you can see the smoke residue where I've been using it. But that takes that 90-degree spine off. I want to scrape some of this Fatwood too before we're done today, so I don't want to dull that sharp spine right there. So I'll use my pocket knife. And the wind just started blowing. You just have to deal with the wind this time of the year in upstate South Carolina. So that's another indication when sawdust will fire up that well that it's good Fatwood. Alright, what else? Let's try to scrape some. Let me get down to where this is at, and then we'll scrape some off of there. Oh, that's better. Now we're down into a good strong pine smell. Let's scrape some. I can smell it. Let's see if we can get it ignited before the wind blows it away. Look at that wind blow. Alright, let's get down on the ground and try our bearing block. I'll give you a good look at this. There's the back side. You wouldn't believe what a hill I'm doing this on. There is no flat places in this yard. When I make a tinder bundle out of straw, like I've said many times before, I like to break off these woody parts. We'll put them in on the fire later. And then just use these really fine pieces of the grass to actually get the flames. If you ever see me make the ember before I make my tinder bundle, I don't want to confuse people that are just starting out. You need to have all this prepped beforehand. That's just something I do. It adds just a little level of difficulty. And it sort of drives home the point of how long an ember will last and how much time you need to leave the ember to just sit there and coalesce. But I understand that some people may be watching this and thinking they should do the same thing. No, you should prep your tinder bundle before you ever make your ember. All right, let's see what we can do with it. Well, balance is an issue when the hill is this steep. Balance can be an issue with me when the hill's not this steep. This should be easier than the last one we just did with the cypress, the Leland cypress. The Leland cypress has plenty of sap, but what I cut off wasn't concentrated like this. This should be a whole lot easier. The reason I stopped those couple of times is because I'm putting pressure on the side of the string with my thumb, and I was trying to find it and get just the right amount of pressure on it. Bearing block feels good, really slick. Look at it melted. Melted some of the resin out of there. Can you see that? Look, it's got wet resin on there. Really good Fatwood. Let me turn my ringer off on my phone. Love that privet from bow drill. How about that pine root? Did some good, made a great bearing block, didn't it? Look, it's still liquid right there. That thing is saturated with pine resin. All right, y'all. I appreciate you joining me on this one. We'll catch you on the next one.